Hello and welcome to the Oxbridge Formula. So today I'm here with my sister Abbie, who's going to be talking to us about St Peter's College in Oxford. But first of all, I just want to have a little talk to you about the Oxbridge Formula. So here at the Oxbridge Formula, we offer a variety of in-depth courses and that are online, as well as courses on summer and half term aimed at best preparing you for Oxford and Cambridge. You can visit our website to check out some more of our admission test courses and for some interview prep, and the link is down below. I also recommend checking out our website because we have lots of blogs about student lives written by students to give you a greater insight into what life is like at Oxford and Cambridge. Okay, so thank you, Abbie. Thank you for being here today. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Abbie. I am, as Mary said, a student at St Peter's College. I've just finished my first year and I study earth sciences. Yeah.
Cool. So I think a big question for people who are coming to Oxford and Cambridge is like, how do I pick my college? So how did you pick St Peter's?
Well, for earth sciences, you are restricted to only 7 colleges out of the 30-ish number of colleges in Oxford. So I went around all the colleges that I was allowed to, that my course was like affiliated with. And I basically I picked Peters because I liked, first of all, that it's got quite a small, it's a smaller college. It's not like one of the really big grand ones like Univ or whatever. I also picked it because I heard it had a really good bar and I love my social life. And also, as soon as I walked in, I just got this really friendly, sociable, happy vibe, which I think sort of, not tried to put down any of the colleges, but I feel like it was lacking in other colleges. So yeah, that's straight away what drew me to Peters, I think. And I remember leaving Oxford thinking, yeah, Peters is the one I want to go to.
So do you recommend people actually going to colleges to see the atmosphere? Do you think that it's not possible to really get a good feel for the colleges without going there yourself?
I think it's very useful to go to the colleges because you can only draw so much information from the websites. At the end of the day, all the websites are going to say similar things. So yeah, if you have the opportunity to go see the colleges, definitely do, because I think it's quite strange. You see, colleges like Univ and Christchurch, and you think, oh my god, it's so grand, amazing, the typical Oxford experience. But it's funny how I went for Peters, which is a less known one, and I thought, wow, no, this is the one I want to go to, and that's because I went there and experienced it.
Yeah, that was the same for me with Somerville. When we went on the open day, obviously we went as a family and we went around nearly hundreds of colleges, obviously not hundreds, but we went around so many of the colleges, and for me it was Somerville that really drew me in, and that was one of the
hidden gem, Somerville, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely hidden gem. It's slightly out, slightly out of the city centre, and it's more modern, and yeah, it just really the whole environment, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was like, this is where I want to be. So yeah, that's really interesting. So let's get into the nitty gritty of St Peter's. Let's talk a little bit about college facilities, and I think obviously a really, really important part of college is the library. So do you want to give us a little insight into St Peter's Library?
Sure thing. So St Peter's Library is actually on top of the Porter's Lodge. So as you walk into Peters through the main entrance, you'll actually see the library, which is the sort of quite grand building. As you walk in, and the library it's quite old. So I think it was around mid 1900s that it was built. So it's young in respect to other Oxford sites, but also old. It's got the dust, and there's lots of space. There's always a good atmosphere in there. It's very, conducive to learning and stuff like that. And there's lots of books provided. You've always got access to computers, good resources in terms of printing, hole punchers, staplers, if that's important to you. And yeah, so I've never not been able to get access to a book that I wanted. So Peters is actually very well stocked, and if not, I've got the Earth Science Library, so that's always very handy. But yeah, Peters Library is great, and there's quite a lot of space. It can get quite full around exam time, but yeah, you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to find a space, which is quite useful when you're considering college libraries.
Yeah, your library is quite interesting, isn't it? Because like you said, it's above the Porter's Lodge, so it's the first thing that you see when you walk into college. But also it's 2 tiers. So you've got the Porter's Lodge floor, and then you've got one floor that I've done another. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's quite different from different other colleges. So that's
And
quite
also
interesting.
I think the English have a library which is below the Porter's Lodge level. So the library is kind of in 4 levels. So it's quite big. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And like what struck me about St. Peter's Library is that from the outside it doesn't look like a classic Oxford library. It doesn't look like it's gonna have that like cozy old-fashioned feel to it. But it's as soon as you walk in, it is very Oxford, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I suppose like
Definitely.
don't be put off by what it looks like on the outside, because on the inside it's a very Oxford library.
Definitely, yeah.
And is it 24/7?
Yeah, 24/7. So, you've got your 4 a.m. essay crisis to meet the deadline, then yeah, you can be in there.
Have you got any, like, what's your favourite library story? As in, not story you read, but as in things that have gone on.
um, I think it's always quite funny when you're studying in the library, because our college bar is open every day of the week until apart from Sunday, until 11 o'clock. So it's quite funny when you're just sitting there in the library and then the bar's closed because you suddenly hear like the hubbub of everyone outside leaving the bar to go out to the city to like do their night stuff. So that's always quite funny when you're sitting there. You're like, I don't know, brings you back to reality whilst you're stuck in your academic world. Yeah. So that's always quite fun. Yeah. Yeah. The library's really cool.
Yeah, I think you're correct in saying that being in the library feels like a completely different world to being in the bar or being, in your room, I suppose. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
it's interesting. And is there anything specifically you really love about Peter's library?
I think I like the small size of it. And I think just like pretty much everything else with Peters, it's got a friendly atmosphere. I know sometimes you can walk into some libraries and you kind of feel almost intimidated initially when you walk in, because it's kind of like, oh, am I making too much noise? Like what are people thinking? All this stuff. But it's kind of like you just walk in, you smile at people, maybe do the quick hi. And then you can just like go get your books and stuff. Like it's really, I think just the relaxed vibe of Peter's Library is something which is really, really good. And I never mind going and studying in there. It's a good one.
Yeah, I think that's really important because especially when you're a fresher, you don't want to be
Yeah.
too scared to go into the library, too intimidated by the older years. So that's really nice that it does have that feeling, and I think that's really, really important for a college to have.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Perfect. Thank you so much. So now let's move on to the JCR. I'm going to leave the bar for a bit later. So the JCR is basically the junior common room, and it's basically two things. It's the physical room where like the undergraduate population will chill, and so we'll definitely talk about that now. But it's also like a committee of people that represent the JCR, represent the undergraduates. So they'll have like weekly meetings, and basically bring about change, listen to the students' opinions, and bring about the necessary change that the population wants. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about your JCR.
Okay, yeah. So in terms of just like the actual room, our JCR is actually really big. I think it's a lot bigger than quite a lot of other people's JCRs. And it's we have a TV in there. I think we have a Wii, and I think someone donated a PS3 recently. So we've got lots of game consoles in there. We have a vending machine. We have like a fruit machine. We have a foosball table, or is it like mini football, whatever. And we have a pool table as well. So there's loads of like, if you just want to come and like wind down with some mates, have a bit of fun, then you can literally like the JCR is a great place for that. It's also like right in the center of the college as well, and really easy to find. So you can pretty much almost guarantee that you're going to find your mates in there. Also, it's joined like it's literally joined to the kitchen. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh, fancy a cuppa, you can just walk into the kitchen and get yourself a cuppa. Like it's very handy in that sense. And in terms of like the actual like committee and how they do things, I think it's the JCR committee is actually really good at hearing people's voices. And I think this is because Peters is such a small college that you're not really like a number on a spreadsheet as you might be in like a much larger college. you are a person, and you do know everyone by name. Like, I pretty much know everyone on the committee's names. And it's really good because you can have your voice heard and your points put across, and they really do take into account your opinions as well. And a lot of things, a lot of things are, a lot of changes made in Peters because your opinions are heard. It's sorry, I'm like repeating what I'm saying, but like it is really good, and the college is really open to change. And if something's not right and the college and the students pick up on it, like the college are like, okay, we'll change that. They're quite adaptable in that sense, and the JCR committee are really helpful.
What's the recent change that has been made by the JCR committee?
So actually, I was quite happy about this. So in response to the recent Black Lives Matter movement, the JCR committee recently introduced not just one BAME representative, but 3 BAME representatives on the JCR committee, which I think is really good because we need the representation for the Black, Asian, minority ethnic students. So I think, yeah, definitely that was really a really good change that was introduced into the JCR committee.
Yeah, that's really, really good, and it really highlights the fact that students are heard, and they also fast at responding to things that students want.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's a really fast turnover. If that's what I'm trying to say. Like, they're really adaptable. When as soon as you see something that's not very, it's negative to do with the college, straight away the college will be like, okay, right, we'll start doing something about this. Whereas some big colleges, it might take years to try and like get something to pass. So yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, definitely. And then back to the actual like physical JCR. What struck me about your JCR is that it always seems to be busy. Like, there always seems to be people in there like having a good time, which isn't really the same for Somerville at all. So I go to Somerville College, and it's not really the same there. Like, people don't really spend that much time in the JCR. So that really did strike me in Peters. So have you got anything else to say about that?
Yeah, I think because of Peters' small size as well, like I definitely, like, if you think a small size is putting you off, I think it's actually a positive thing to look at, because of its small size, there's really close inter-year relationships. So literally, like, the freshers or the first years might come down from the building, because their building, the building that they live in is actually above the JCR. So they'll just come down, they'll just sit in the JCR, and then the third years might come in who also live in college, and they'll be conversing, talking, chatting. And there's always different things going on in the JCR as well. So like, there might be congregations of people from different societies discussing different things, or like, we have welfare tea once or twice a week, and like, so there's always things going on in the JCR which you can become involved in. Talks about charities, talks about filling in surveys, and like, I remember one time we all came down and had, like, they bought loads of Domino's pizza for everyone for filling in a survey, which was really cool. Like, so it's also just a really good way to get people chatting, and also network with like older students, get some information from them, information about applying to internships and stuff like that. So like, and just making friends as well. Yeah, it's really good. The JCR is a really good place to make friends.
Yeah, that really struck me about Peters, is that you've got a lot of friends that are in older years. And like I said before, it's so nice to be in an environment where everyone feels welcome and that the freshers aren't intimidated. And I think that really is a thing at St. Peter's, because there are those inter-year friendships. So yeah, I think a small college is actually a nice thing to look at. I wouldn't rule out a smaller college, even if you're a very sociable person. And to be honest, if you are a sociable person, it might even be better to pick a smaller college, because it's extra social in that way, I suppose. Yeah, it's really good to know. And also, you mentioned that the kitchen is attached to the JCR, and you said the kitchen. So
yeah,
do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I say you could class it as like a downside. I wouldn't necessarily, it's a downside. It's never really affected me. And when I've been talking to my friends, it hasn't really affected them. But there is sort of one main kitchen split between the freshers and sort of the third years in the college. I know there are some smaller kitchens in one of the other buildings which are accessible, but really the main kitchen is the JCR kitchen. And so it's got a couple of kettles, it's got a big fridge, it's got a couple of hobs. The only problem is it doesn't have ovens, so you can't really like cook yourself like a pasta bake or like pizza or something like that. which I think is a little bit of a letdown. But that being said, like the hall food is actually pretty decently priced. It's really good, and they cater for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, and I literally always just go to halls because the food is so good. So it's never been a problem for me. And also, I've never, gone into the kitchen and had to wait for something. It's always been free. So it's not really much of a problem. But yeah, there's only one main kitchen in Peters. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose that's quite different from other colleges. The fact that there is just one kitchen and no ovens, I suppose, is like quite a shock. You do have those little pantry areas, don't you, with a fridge and a kettle?
So yeah, so the college are aware that they don't have like a massive amount of like food storage space in terms of the kitchen. So I think it's each floor in Peters. Well, it's just, especially in the freshers buildings anyway. Each floor has its own sort of pantry area, which has a kettle, it has a sink, and it has a fridge. So you can store your stuff in your fridge, and you can also buy your own fridge. I know my friend, she bought a fridge from IKEA. And she kept that in her room. So you kind of just fill in a fridge form. You're like, I have a fridge in my room. And then the porters are like, great, okay, now we know. So yeah, so you can work around it. You can work around the fact that there's one small kitchen. Well, it's fairly sized kitchen, but yeah, you can work around the fact that there's only one kitchen in the college, definitely. Yeah.
It's really good that you get your own fridge in your room, because I know they're really strict on it in Somerville, and they'll only let you do it if you have like specific dietary requirements, like if you're kosher or halal, etc. So that's really interesting that like it is more accepted in Peters. I've got something to say though. I suppose having one kitchen can be quite a disadvantage when you come in from a night out, and did you or did you not eat a cold packet of packeted rice?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was a bit hungry one night, and yeah, I needed to get to the microwave, and the JCR was locked. So yeah, I had to eat a cold packet of rice before I went to bed. So that was a night. But we moved. That's uni.
It's uni. What time does the JCR close then?
To be fair, I think some nights it can just stay open. Like, to be fair, like some nights it just stays open. After BOP nights, it closes shortly after midnight, just to make sure that everyone leaves the college. Essentially, everyone who doesn't belong to the college leaves the college, and that everyone in the college goes home. So
if anyone's wondering what a BOP is, we'll definitely come on to talk about that later on in the talk. But but I think you mentioned about food in the dining hall and how like it's really good at Peters and things. So I think we should definitely talk a little bit more about that. So can you talk to me about like daily meals, like what it's kind of like, the pricing, etc.?
So I only ever really sort of eat dinner, but like I said, they do breakfast, lunch, and dinner in college. So breakfast is
that every day?
No, that's every day. Apart from the weekends where they just do a brunch and a dinner. So yeah, in terms of like breakfast, so you have an option of like a hot breakfast, and you can have yogurt, cereal, fruit. So you've got quite a range there in terms of your breakfast. And that's normally quite fairly priced, around £3. So it's pretty decent when you're looking at like a whole cooked breakfast. And then we have lunch. So lunch, I've never actually had lunch, but it can vary between like sort of more lighter bites. So it's more like a lighter version of the dinners. So you might have like a small portion of sweet and sour or something like that, or it can just be like a sandwich, it can be jack potato, it can be a salad, so you've got it varies quite a lot for dinner and for lunch. And then dinner obviously is, you've always got a vegetarian option, and they do try and cater for vegans as well. They do, I know if you put in special dietary requirements like things like halal, etc., they'll try and cater for that as well. And yeah, so you'll always have like sort of 2 main meat options and 1 vegetarian option. And then alongside that, so maybe that might be like a chicken curry, a beef curry, and then just like a veggie curry, for example. And then they'll always have alongside that, you'll have like, you can pick to have broccoli or green beans, sorry, and rice and stuff like that. So yeah, you've got loads of selection of different stuff if there's something you don't like. And there's always salad on the side, which you can help yourself to, and bread and all that stuff. So yeah, you never go hungry. Peters is great. The food's always really good.
Sounds like there's like a nice range as well. Like sometimes at Somerville there's just one meat option and one vegetarian option. So it's nice that you have a little bit more choice. I think that's really good. And so if I was to come to Peters and I was going to have a meat main with, say it was a meat curry with rice and some peas, how much would that cost?
That would probably be around £4-ish. So it's actually really fairly priced, considering that you, like, in a restaurant in Oxford, you probably get that for about £9-10, you know. So it's really fairly priced, and the food is actually really good quality as well. So
that's what I'd say, is that some colleges do have cheaper food. Like some colleges have main meals for like £2, but they're just not that great quality. Whereas like in Somerville and Peters, it is around £4 for a main meal, but like you get what you pay for because the food is really nice and really good quality. So yeah, I definitely think that's great. And is there any highlight meals that come into your head? What's the best meal you've ever had at Peters?
Oh, that's
Don't include formals.
I remember, so for the pescatarians out there, I remember I had this like absolutely like amazing piece of salmon steak, and it was drizzled in this like mango sauce with like chopped up mango, onion, and peppers drizzled all over it. It was gorgeous, and I had these like green beans with it. I was like, I'm in heaven. Literally worth every penny. It was gorgeous.
That sounds so nice. And salmon's expensive.
Yeah. It's really bougie, yeah.
Like if you were buying salmon for yourself, even to cook for yourself, which normally cooking for yourself is slightly cheaper, but if you were to do that with salmon, it would still be quite expensive. So really, that's really good.
It's really good, definitely.
Oh, that's really nice.
It's normally like up to that standard most nights. Like the vegetarian options are really good. Like you can have like stuffed peppers with like like things you've never even heard of. Like it's really, and it tastes good.
That's good. It sounds like Peter's caterers are very, very good. And I remember when I came to a formal at your college, they have a little suggestion box outside the dining hall. So like, because they always want to change, like improve and give the students what they want, which is so nice. I mean, it's not like that at Somerville. I mean, our kitchen stuff are amazing, but they don't have like a really cute suggestion box. And I think that's also reflects Peter's attitudes to like really wanting to do what the students want and making it a really nice place for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's definitely another example of how Peters is willing to change quickly and effectively to try and meet the students' needs and demands and stuff like that. Which is so good. Like, you know, what's the point in cooking food that nobody likes, you know? And also it's quite a nice box as well, because if you really like a meal and you feel like you want to let the chefs know, you can just write, you know, I love that meal or something like that, and just put it in. It's just quite cute.
People write love letters to the chefs as well.
Our the sort of like the head of catering, a lot of people say that always write messages saying we love you. It's quite funny.
That's really nice. And then obviously there's formal halls. So they're slightly different at Peters to Somerville in that you guys wear your gowns, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us a little bit about formals at Peters?
So formals at Peters, I think we like to make quite a big show of them. So we wear our gowns, but also we dress up quite like smartly. Like, so I'll wear a dress, heels, jewelry, etc. You know. So it's you make quite a big thing of it, and they cost around, I think it's around £8-ish for students in the college, and then I think it's around £11 for guests, and I think you can have up to two or three guests. I think it's two guests to come with you as well. So
that's
it's
cheap.
Like, like especially I think for guests as well, especially. And it's a 3-course meal. You know, they give you coffee and chocolates at the end. You bring your own wine, obviously. But yeah, it's really, really good. And like, you know, you'll be sitting around your tables with your friends, having the whole Oxford experience, being waited on, you know, around, just like the atmosphere is always amazing. And I think the Thursday, because we have formals every Tuesday and Thursday evenings. And don't worry, like if you on those Tuesdays and Thursdays, you still have informal meal hall as well. Informal hall, which is basically where you can just get the normal food, and but you just have to eat it slightly earlier. But then formal hall happens afterwards. And you might have, you know, the master of the college and like, you know, peers and stuff of, you know, of her, you know, around the head table, and they might say a bit of Latin and stuff like that. So it's a very Oxford feel, and I know a lot of colleges do it like that. But I know Peters does like to have the college sing, the choir.
The whole college.
The whole college gets up and sings. The choir will sing on Thursdays, and they'll sort of serenade people before the food is served. So that's really nice.
Yeah, I remember coming to a formal at yours on a Thursday, and the choir sung, and it was such like a really nice way to start the formal, and it's things like that like make you realise where you are, and like it's like, wow, like I take this for granted so much, but I'm so lucky to be here, and it's such an incredible experience.
Yeah, definitely. And
your dining hall, compared to Somerville's anyways, like quite small. It's definitely a small dining hall.
It is smaller, yeah. I think that's just to match the size of the college.
Yeah.
So like when we have our Christmas formals, for example, or like the big formals, they normally, so for the Christmas ones, they normally split it over 2 nights. So like half the college might do it like, you know, the first night, and then half will do the second night. So, you know, there's ways to get around it. Yeah.
Do you find there's quite a lot of competition to book onto formals then to get a place, or is it still quite chill?
Yeah, you do have to book in advance.
Yeah.
And you do have to book quite quickly. Especially for like the big events. So we do like the famous Burns night. I think some of the college might do Burns night as well. But that was really highly sought after this year, and we had like bagpipe, you know, a guy playing bagpipes walked around the college hall, which is really, really cool. I didn't get to see it, I wasn't there, but like, you know, this is from tales, from what people told me. And it, you know, you could actually hear the bagpipes from the library, so so they were quite loud. Yeah, and it sounded like such a good night. But there's loads of other formals, you know, there's subject specific formals. I know I had an earth science dinner in Hillary term, and that was really nice. And that was actually in the MCR actually. But the food is always amazing. Like, yeah, can't fault the food.
That's really good. I'm really glad you enjoy formals, and that it's also nice, like you said, to dress up for formals as well as wear your gown. But I think that actual process of dressing up really makes it feel like an occasion, and it's so nice when you've been sat in the library with your hair in a big bun, greasy because you haven't washed it in a few days, but then you like get showered and ready, and you're very glamorous, and you know,
definitely.
it's a nice alternative to like normal working days.
Definitely, to the general get up, work, sleep.
Yeah. For you, Abbie, it's get up, work, go to the bar, sleep.
Go to the bar, yeah.
Which is exactly what I want to talk about now. So let's talk about the bar. I know that I don't even need to ask you questions about the bar, because I know you can talk about it for days and days. So ever since we've been home for the vacations, all Abbie talks about is St. Peter's Bar all the time. So come on, Abbie, tell everybody about St. Peter's Bar.
I just love it. Like, it's just such a good atmosphere. Like the drinks are so cheaply priced. The music is always cheesy and amazing. There's always like darts being played, and the third years they're always like quite loud and like jokey and funny, and you're always laughing in the bar, and you can always guarantee that your friends will be in there, so you can always have a really good chat, and it's just such a good atmosphere. Like, I love it. I honestly love it. Like, this sort of, you've got the friendliness and the socialness of the JCR, which then is carried on and mixed with alcohol in the bar. So it's like, yeah, it's perfect. It's just such a good place to be.
So what's special about St. Peter's Bar, as in, like, what is it known as?
Well, it's actually been voted the best bar in Oxford for the last 10 years. Yeah.
Now that is a claim to fame.
It is certainly a claim to fame. And I know that because I know that sometimes a lot of societies try and host, like, I think there's like an annual pub crawl that look like it's like a whole university pub crawl that you can all do. And I know that they go to different colleges' bars. and that Peter's is always a highlight. It's always the highlight. People always want to go to Peter's bar. It's kind of like something you have to do before you finish your degree, like go to Peter's bar. And it's because of our famous drink. We have a famous set of drinks called the Cross Keys. And these are basically, they have 6 shots of alcohol in them. Yeah, 6 shots. And you can get different flavors. So you can have mango, cherry, apple, tropical fruits, grapefruit. Like, there's so many. And then they introduced one around Christmas, which was like ice Cross Keys, which was like, had vodka ice in it, which was, oof, it was a good one. So yeah, and they're the drinks you've got to try. So it's basically you're buying 6 shots for £5. So they're £5 each, which is amazing when you think about like the prices that you pay. Like, when you agree, like the prices you pay for like things in like the spoons in Oxford and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Because even spoons is so much more expensive than that, like for what you get. And especially if you're going to like the cocktail bars in Oxford, they probably have like 2 or 3 shots in them and they're like £10, £11. So to get that much alcohol for £5 is really, really good.
Really good. And also the beauty about the Cross Keys is you can't taste the alcohol.
Is that a beauty or is it a danger?
Oh, you know what? It's two-sided. It's a two-sided one. Personally, it's a beauty for me.
De-stress after a long day.
Oh, very, yes.
So some more things about the bar. You mentioned that there's lots of events going on, like darts nights and things, and it seems when I've been there on a Wednesday, so Wednesday's known as like the sports social night, so people will normally come together in their sports teams and they'll drink and things, and then they'll go to a club in Oxford called Park End, and it's just known as the sports night. But lots of sports societies seem to end up at Peter's before they go to the club. It seems to be like a really popular club for people all over Oxford. A pub, what am I saying? Bar.
Yeah, no, definitely, that's completely true. Like, you know, like most of the time it'll be either, you know, our rugby team or like, you know, our football team. But you know, I've been in there before, and you know, I've just been like, what? Because like Worcester's rugby team are just dancing on the tables and like drinking Cross Keys and stuff. So it's a really big mix. You can have, and we've had like girls hockey teams in there, and Teddy Hall's teams and stuff. So it's like, yeah, it's a really good place to attract societies, big groupings. But it's not just like sports teams either. You know, we've had just general pub crawls. We've had graduates in there, you know, graduate societies in there. Also, you know, there's some really cute open mic nights that we've had where people from the college, have like played to raise money. I think that the last one we did was to raise money for breast cancer. So like, you know, really good ways to, you know, and I think the college as well, for Pink Week, you know, where it was like raising money for breast cancer and stuff, they actually bought in pink gin specifically, and like every time someone bought pink gin, all the money, all the proceeds would go towards breast cancer. So like the bar does loads. It's not just like, you know, like a social hub, you know, it does a lot for charity, and you know, it's also really good for like just mental health and well-being as well, because you're in such a good environment, you know, it's really good place to be fair.
Yeah, because Oxford's such a stressful place, so it is nice to have somewhere to chill at the end of the day.
Yeah,
and also, yeah, exactly. I think it's important to say that your bar's student run too, because that's not the case with all bars. I know our bar in Somerville is a lot more tame, and the drinks are a little bit more expensive because it isn't student run. So like we hire actual bar staff to come in. But I think that's the good thing about Peters, is that it is so relaxed, and people do dance on the tables and go crazy and take their tops off and like dance around and have loads and loads of fun because it is student run. And so it's a really, really nice thing to be part of. And also you can work in the bar and earn some money, right?
Yeah, so what they do basically, they train you up. So you'll do your first day of work, and that'll be like training. And then you can sort of volunteer once or twice a term, and they pay you, and the pay's actually fairly good, to be fair. And the bar manager and the bar supervisor, they're always there, like making sure that everything's going smoothly. So if anything really bad is happening, then obviously like they'll kick them out. But yeah. And the bar closes at 11, so it opens at 7 each night and closes at 11. So there's enough time for you to get to sleep You're not going to just hang around the bar all night.
Yeah, no, that was really, really good.
And because that's a good reason, because it is student run, obviously the students need to get to sleep, so that's why it closes as well.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. And let's really quickly talk about BOPs. So obviously your BOPs are held in your bar and in your JCR. So do you want to talk a little bit about what goes on in BOPs?
Well, so yeah, we have our BOPs every other week. So like normally first, third, fifth, and seventh week of term.
That's quite a lot for a college, isn't it? Because some colleges have like one a term, some will have three, but you guys have a lot. Sorry, BOPs, just to clarify, are like big organised parties. Apparently, that's what it stands for, and they're basically just a time where like loads of weird cheesy music is played and everyone like has a drink and gets dressed up, and it's just like a really fun time. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, definitely. No, great. But yeah, so as you said, I'll basically, what happens is they convert our JCRs into almost like a club. So they'll push all the chairs out of the way, the football table, the pool table, all pushed out of the way. So you've just got a big open empty floor. And then they have students each hour doing different sets of music, playing from 7 till 12, because our bops last until 12 at night. And they have like flashing lights going on in the JCR and stuff, and all the main lights are off, so it is really like a club.
Yeah.
And then the bar's really good. So before 9, normally you can get cross keys for £4, and I think sometimes they might set something up like, oh, if you come before 7:30 you can get cross keys for £3. Like, oh my god. Literally big win.
That's 50p a shot.
I know, yeah, like you can like, if you come like in the early hours of the BOP evening, you can get really cheap drinks. But yeah, it's just a really good way. Like literally the bar gets so crowded, you're literally like pushing past people. And I know that may sound like absolute hell to some people, but when you're just there in the moment and you're with people and you're drinking, you're having such a good time, the music's dead loud, like it's really good, like, yeah, atmosphere. I love it so much.
What's your favourite BOP memory?
I've got so many. I've got loads.
Well, name a few.
Well, I remember actually the first BOP, the freshers BOP. Yeah, so you basically had to dress as your subject, and luckily that day, me and my friend were actually given our equipment, like for our field trips for Earth Science. We basically went to the BOP dressed in hard hats and high vis jackets, which was quite funny. And then obviously we had quite a lot to drink. And so the bus journey the day after, because we went on a field trip literally the day after the BOP, was an interesting bus journey to say the least.
Not good.
Like we've had students, what's it called, like crowd surfing. So the students do crowd surfing. Yeah. Like literally just so many different things happen in the, like, just you always get drinks spilled on you as well for some reason. Like, it's so funny, honestly. Honestly, I absolutely the BOPs. And at the end of the BOP, we've got like a tradition where we generally, like, normally we play the song Angels. So everyone's, arms around each other, like singing Angels. and then suddenly we do the Peters chant. And that is absolutely famous. Like, I remember when, like in the first BOP I ever went to, they started the chant. I was like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? I had no idea. But you soon pick up the chant, and it's like camaraderie. You're chanting it like, yeah. I'm part of the college.
Yeah, exactly. When I came to your college BOP, and at the end of it, everyone just started chanting this like Peter Wright chant, and it was so cool. It felt like such a great community. Like, you were all there together, so proud to be Peter students.
Yeah,
and
literally.
like really, really meaning every word you said in that chant. And also what's really, really funny about it is that you've clearly got a lot of personality as a college, and also like you've got really fun rivalries with other colleges, like Teddy Hall.
We've got a big, it's all jokey, like it is all jokey, but like a big sort of almost sporty rivalry with Teddy Hall, and a slight rivalry with Keeble as well. So when we actually play like inter college football games, with between Peters and Teddy Hall, they're always really fun, and like, you know, there's lots of heckling from both sides to each other. Like, it's really, really good. Yeah. And so, you know, the sort of the excitement and the joy from like the JCR and the bar is carried on to the societies outside of college as well. So yeah, it's really, really good, a really good community to be part of.
Yeah, it sounds really fun. Like, it just sounds really, really nice. And it's great that you've got those like college traditions. I think that's just really fun. So I want to talk a little bit more like practically about accommodation. So at Somerville, we get on-site accommodation for the whole like 4 years of our degree if it's an integrated master's course, 3 years if it's not. But Peters is quite different, isn't it? So do you want to talk to me about like each year and where you live, just as quickly as you can, really? Like, just
sure. So obviously,
sorry, not rushing you, but you know.
No. So because Peters is quite small, obviously you've got to try and, if you want on-site accommodation, you've got to try and build on-site, but obviously you've got to try and squeeze it into as much little space as possible around building. So currently they're trying to build accommodation at the moment, but right now there is not a lot. So basically all freshers get accommodation, and you get housed in Matthews or new building.
And that's on-site, isn't it?
That's on-site. So it's on-site accommodation. So everyone is housed on-site. So second year, you have to live in privately owned accommodation. So you have to rent in the city, essentially. So most students will look at renting in Jericho, Cowley, Iffley, or sort of down St Aldate's into the more residential areas. And that may sound like quite a stress, like, oh no, I've got to try and rent. But to be fair, I found it quite easy. You get loads and loads of help from the JCR. The college influences you quite early on, because you have to start looking at housing in Michaelmas term, so the first term as a fresher. So you've got to start looking quite early. But you know, I've had loads of help. I've never rented before, and I found it quite easy. So so there's no issues with that, to be fair. Get a bike though. It's probably best to get a bike if you are living that. Third year, you have the option to live on site, so you can live in the Hubert Perodo building, or you can live in staircase 3 or staircase 2. So those are the on-site accommodation for third years. So
are they en suite?
So the staircase 3 and Hubert Perodo are en suite, but staircase 2 isn't. And some of them have sitting rooms. So staircase 3 I know has sitting rooms. I know, yeah. And staircase 2 does as well. But they all have study bedrooms, so like desks, wardrobes, and beds in them as well. So they're all accommodated like that. And some of them are more expensive than others. There is also third year accommodation off-site. So Peters actually has annexes off-site, which are about a 5-minute walk away from the actual main site of the college. So really not far at all. And then near Oxford Castle. So you know, if you wanna leave the bar one night, climb up the mound with your mates, and then go to your annex. It's super easy. And they are on, I know there's one on Paradise Street, there's one on T Street. I know T stands for something, but I can't remember what it is. But yeah, they're really close, and they're en suite as well. And I think they're all the same price. The ones on site do vary in price, because obviously you're on site, and also like en suite, sitting rooms, etc. obviously adds more to the price. But
I think that's sorry. Go on, sorry. I was going to say, I think it's really good that the off-site accommodation is very close, because some colleges have off-site accommodation which is like miles away from the actual college site. So
I know
Peters is close.
I know that just like an example, I know that Univ has University College has off-site accommodation, which is like really far north out of the city. So I think the fact that we're given the opportunity in second year to just get our own accommodation, and you can find accommodation which isn't actually that far out away from Peters, I think that's actually I think I actually prefer that, as opposed to being forced to live in accommodation miles out the city. So, or miles, you know what I mean, like further than St Hugh's.
Yeah, that's really good. That's interesting.
And then fourth year accommodation as well is you generally live in the annexes, or you can live in staircase 4, which is another building. So yeah, when I say staircase, I mean these are like different buildings. It's just what they're called.
Okay.
And some of them are en suites, some of them are normal bedrooms, etc. And these are all balloted, so it's kind of like a first come first served basis, unless you've got special circumstances where you can be like, I can't, I put my name down first, for example, but I can't afford to live on site. And they'll be like, okay, cool, we'll put you in one of the annexes. So it basically works like that.
That's quite a different way of doing it, because in Somerville it's a ballot system too, but you are all randomly allocated a number and you pick a room based on where you are. So like the higher you are, the more choice of rooms you have, etc. Whereas in Peters it's just first come first served. Is that via email, or how can you be first to the ballot?
So they kind of just send out like I'm like, this is just what I've gathered from like the third years telling me and stuff. It might change like over the years, but yeah, so it's kind of like they send out a link to all the students and they're like, ballots are now open, sign your name down. So you just basically just write your name on a list that they send out. It's like normally like a Google spreadsheet or something like that. And yeah, and then you just fill your name and they get back to you. Like,
that's really
they basically just tell you where you're gonna live. You'd be like, yeah, that's great, I'll live there.
Oh, so they give you a room?
I think so, yeah. Or I'm not entirely sure. I think you might be able to choose as well if you're. Yeah. I do think some people have chosen their rooms though, because I know the Hubert Proto building is quite expensive to live in.
Okay.
It's one of the more expensive ones because it's quite modern and it's quite new. So yeah, I think people do choose to live there.
And I suppose you're not going to be an expert on it because you have just finished your first year, so you've never had to do a ballot system because you're going into a private accommodation. So that's very fair. Very fair.
Yeah.
So I've got some like random questions just to end off. Which college is the most different, do you think, to Peters, and why?
Ooh, okay. Probably University College, because it's huge. First of all, it's very old. I feel like it's because of such a large size. It's it lacks that sort of community feel. Not putting down Univ at all. Like Univ has got some amazing qualities, definitely. And I think also from what I've heard, the bar isn't like Peters and stuff.
That's clearly important for you, Abs.
It's very, very important indeed. But yeah, no, like I think just like a lot of the big colleges, I'd say, are different to Peters because they sort of almost lack that community vibe, that adaptability. I think because as well they're so old, they have sort of deep-rooted traditions which they must adhere to. Whereas Peters is quite young, it's got a relatively young constitution as well, which is quite open to change, quite adaptable and changeable, which I think is very good, especially when a lot of things are changing quite rapidly in this day and age. So, yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's very fair. That's very fair. Yeah, I think that the size of the college does make quite a big difference, I think, more than people think. And I think when I was initially looking at colleges, I wanted a big college. I was like, I want to know lots of people. I really want a big community. But really, that's not necessarily the best thing. Like, it may be if people want that. But also, like you said, it's so nice to be in a small college and have that really almost more than a community, more like a family.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. 100%. Like, I feel like everyone is sort of friendly with everyone in Peters. Whereas, like, I feel like in the sort of larger colleges, you're forced into cliques.
Yeah.
I think you can get quite a lot of cliques in the larger colleges. That being said, like, I've heard really great things about the colleges as well, like amazing. So yeah, definitely.
That's interesting.
Not saying anything bad about them.
Yeah, it's just interesting that you like categorized like a college that's most different to yours by size. So that's clearly like quite an important factor for you. So that's really interesting. Okay, and if you didn't apply to Peters, or if St. Peters wasn't a college, and there was no restrictions on which college a scientist could apply to, which college would you have applied to? If you don't say Somerville, I'll be very upset.
Oh, it's a difficult one because there's obviously the colleges. There's so many good things about all the different colleges. To be honest, probably Exeter. It's basically like, first of all, because Exeter's location is perfect. It's literally right in the centre of the city.
Yeah.
and it's also kind of a nice distance between this, obviously all the shops and all the restaurants and stuff, but also the science department. So the science departments are slightly outside the city, outside the main centre of the city. So it's like a nice distance between them. Also, it's got that sort of beautiful old Oxford look to it, like the typical Oxford College look.
Yeah.
Which I think is really beautiful, and also their bar is pretty cool. Like, I've been in it. It's big, it's spacious, music playing. The drinks are fairly priced as well, so it's a good place to go. And Tolkien went there. I mean, you can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong if Tolkien went there.
There we go.
I was going to talk about the location of Peters. So Peters is located in like a really good place too. It's very central in the city in that it's like a 2-second walk to Westgate, which is the new huge shopping centre, and then the other end of the street that it's on is like George Street, which is a really hustling, bustling street full of restaurants. Theatres, cinemas. So it's a really great place to be. You're really close to Gloucester Green, which has like markets nearly every day with a range of food from all over the world. It's really cool. But like you said, a good thing about Exeter is that it's close to the science area. So I suppose you've got more of a walk to the science area just because of where you are in the city.
Literally, I'd say it's literally like an additional 3-4 minutes walk max. Yeah, but like Exeter's in a good position, and I'd say like Wadham College as well is in a really good position as well, because
it's very close to the science area,
like a perfect distance away. But
cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for talking to me today. St. Peter's sounds really nice. I mean, I know it's really, really nice. And to be honest, if I hadn't have applied for Somerville, I think I really, really would have considered applying for St. Peter's. Shame we didn't say that about Somerville, but it's okay.
I love Somerville. Somerville's very nice. They've got a gorgeous library. There we go.
But it's been really, really lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on here to talk with the Oxbridge Formula. And have a lovely day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye. Bye.